Hello and welcome to Eurofootball Daily's Transfer Review. This is a new show where we delve into some of the biggest rumours on the market at the moment. And this week I'm joined by Chris Hamill.
Thank you, Stato. And we kick off today with a big one. It is Gtze To Spurs of all people, mate. What do you think?
Well, obviously I don't want good players to go to Spurs. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I think he'd be an excellent signing and I can see why they'd go for him. The price they're talking about is kind of 23 million euros. That seems very reasonable. They're in the Champions League this season, and historically they've struggled when they've had to deal with 2 fixtures in a week. So they're going to need this top quality replacement player. I think that Eriksen, when he was missing last season, that was a huge loss for them because they don't have that extra creative midfielder. However, their front line is very, very strong, so it would be competitive. But Gtze was holding out for Real Madrid, Barcelona, supposedly at the beginning of the summer. And now I think that Tottenham would be an excellent alternative if he can get this move done.
Yes, and I think it makes perfect sense from a Bayern Munich point of view too, Pato. He played under 1,000 minutes for the Bavarians last season, making just 11 first-team starts. And he's not going to fit into the 4-3-3 system that Ancelotti's bringing with him. And with the addition of Sanchez to that midfield, he's just going to be another player blocking Gtze's path back into the first team. It looked like he was going to stay 2 to 3 months ago when he sacked his agent Volker Struth when he was heavily linked with Liverpool, and he was quoted as saying he wanted to stay at Bayern Munich. But I think with the lack of first-team appearances, especially for Germany at the Euros, he's going to be thinking twice about that now. And it looks like Bayern are keen to sell, readily accepting a 15 million loss on the player.
Yeah, and anyway, we hear that this comes from Bild, which is a pretty reliable source. Though they can be a little bit tabloidy, they do have good connections with German clubs. As Chris has said, the fee seems very, very reasonable. And with Liverpool, Dortmund and Spurs all in the hunt for Gtze, we're going to give it 3 out of 5. We're pretty certain this man moves. And Tottenham, you're in the lead. Our second story of the week comes from Marca, and it's Arda Turan. The Turkish player might well be on his way out of Barcelona for a fee as low as 23 million euros. Christoph, what do you think about this?
Well, mate, the 3 clubs that have been linked with him are Arsenal, Dortmund and Galatasaray. Let's just check their credentials separately. So, Arsenal have an abundance of creative midfielders, and I think their problem lies at centre-back and centre-forward, mate. Yeah. You would know that, being a big gooner. Dortmund, I think he suits their style of play, and with Mkhitaryan going, there may be a space in that team for him. He's combative, he presses hard, he's not a luxurious attacking midfielder at all. And then there's Galatasaray, who, in fact, apparently have bid £17.1 million for him, according to the Express, mate. So it looks like the Turks are the most realistic option for him.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Barcelona try and get him out of the door. Last season, the 29-year-old was only able to register in January thanks to Barcelona's transfer ban. He played 810 minutes in the league, which is not terribly impressive. They've just re-signed Denis Suarez from Villarreal, who's a 22-year-old kind of versatile attacking midfield player who's going to make it even harder for Turan to make a difference. And this is probably their last chance to get any money back for him. They paid 40 million euros for the guy from Atletico Madrid, and I think that this is probably their last chance to see any of it. 25 million euros for them would be absolutely heaven sent because they need that cash.
So overall, even though this is a very Real Madrid orientated paper, we can see this being fairly feasible. Of the 3 clubs linked with him, we think he may end up at Galatasaray. He won the league with them in 2008, has that affinity, and that's why we're going to give it 3 stars out of 5. So the next rumour on our radar, Pato, is Marko Pjaca, and he is apparently going to Juventus from Zagreb.
Well, he seems like an interesting buy for Juve. He's a Croatian winger, he's 6'1", he's 21. He's a pretty prolific scorer from the wide areas, and he had an impressive European Championships, played 92 minutes of the game against Spain, and I thought he was very, very good. Very good. Now, Juventus are clearly on the lookout for a wide man. They've struck out with Alexis Sanchez. They haven't managed to get a deal done for Juan Cuadrado. Last season, we saw them playing with Morata at one point in a wide position, and they've used Stefan Lichtsteiner in the past. Now they've brought in Dani Alves, and so it's possible that they're really trying to revamp their wide areas and have more thrust on the edges of the pitch. And Piazza seems to be part of that plan.
And this is a very well-trodden path, isn't it, Pato, in terms of Croatian forwards going to Serie A. You have the likes of Perisic, Kalinic, Ilicic, and they've all excelled at that level. And he's excelling at Dynamo. He has 26 goals in 90 appearances from the wide areas. He's too big a player for that league now. He's outgrown it. And when Juventus come calling, do you knock them down?
I don't think you do. And this story comes via Gianluca Di Marzio, who, as we know, when it comes to Italian affairs, is pretty reliable. Now, the fee they're talking about is 25 million euros plus bonuses. That's pretty steep. Dinamo Zagreb are not going to turn that money down. And we think that this looks like it's on the verge of being done. So we're going to give this 4 stars out of 5. Next up is newly minted Euro 2016 champion William Carvalho. The Portuguese defensive midfielder has been linked with Everton, Leicester and Southampton by The Sun. Chris, what do we think of this rumour?
Well, mate, I'm not surprised. He had a really solid tournament in that Portugal midfield. But let's look at all these teams and their needs individually. So let's start with Southampton. They have huge shoes to fill in the form of Victor Wanyama after he left for Spurs. They have signed Højbjerg, but that's an awful lot of faith to put in a 20-year-old player who's not played, a minute in the Premier League. We have Everton, who are after the likes of Witsel. They have Gareth Barry, they have Besic, and then we have Leicester, who have got Daniel Amati and Mendy, Kante in that position already, in that deep-lying midfield position, protecting the back four. We've not seen anything of Amati yet, who's a centre-back and defensive midfielder. Mendy was a very highly rated midfielder in France last season. And Kante, if he's still there, what can you say about Kante that's not already been said?
Yeah, he's an outstanding defensive midfielder, but I think that Sporting will be keen to try and shift William Carvalho. Now, we've heard rumours about this guy for years. He's been linked with Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool repeatedly, and they've always required the release clause to be paid. The release clause is supposedly set around 45 million euros, and they haven't had any bites. So it makes sense that now, on the back of an extremely good Euros, they would try and shift him for the best they can get. And the rumour here is around 25 million euros. That sounds like a reasonable fee to me, and Sporting can probably make that money go pretty far.
Yes, and with his Euros and Champions League experience, we think he would be a welcome addition to any one of those sides. But with none of them in particular dire straits, we don't think this rumour's got the legs in it, and we're going to give it a 2 out of 5. And finally, this brings us to our last segment of the show, where we discuss the worst transfer rumour of the week. It's the transfer shocker. And this week it's Tuttosport reporting a move by Juventus for Mario Icardi, of all people, Pat.
Yeah, Mauro Icardi, he's Inter's club captain. He is 47 in 91 Serie A games for them. Apparently, Juventus are willing to pay 50 million euros for the Argentinian to replace Alvaro Morata. Now, this has nonsense written all over it. They do not have the money to buy this player. Inter are not going to let him go. This seems to have been pushed by Icardi's agent, who is also his wife, and formerly Maxi Lopez's wife, Wanda Nara. I do not see this one happening at all.
Yeah, and who's he going to displace in that system, Dybala or Mandzukic? I don't think either of them, and that's why it's our worst transfer story of the week. Have you seen a worse one? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out our 10 players your club should sign this summer.
And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Catch you next time.